coming up to the hour, and so welcome everyone to today's webinar, which is Skype and the Contact Center. Fascinating subject. I think is on the very leading edge of call center technology, which is great. So I'd like to introduce you the speakers for today. Our speakers are Simon from Ember Services. Simon, welcome.
Hi there.
Simon has spoken on one of our webinars before in, I think it was October, which was multi-channel, and we'll be talking about multi-channel customer contact. Also delighted to be joined to a newcomer to our webinar program, Guillaume Callo from Genesis. Welcome to you, Guillaume.
Hello.
And Guillaume's going to be talking through Skype in the contact center. We'll also be doing your top tips and your questions as we go through. Just a little bit of housekeeping for you. Slides are in the chat room. There's a bottle of champagne for the best tip that we have in the chat room. And if you want to watch a replay, you just dial in the same link as you've dialed in to today. And then following this, a white paper will be sent to you by Genesis. So a reminder of the link for the chat room, which is callcenterhelper.com/chat. We've got Maren who's dialing in from the Surrey Hills, and Alexandra is dialed in from Ottawa, so quite an international audience today. And if you want to download the webinar slides, once you're logged in, if you follow this little link underneath the title, download webinar slides, you can download the slides from there. So what I'd like to do, just a question into the chat room, is just ask the question, how many current channels does your contact center have? So if you just like to type that into the chat room, how many channels does your contact center have? And it'd be also interesting if you could also highlight what was the latest channel you added onto the contact center. So we've got the answers of 8. Alexander has 2 channels, which are email and voice. Elle is using chat as the latest channel. Paul says current channels are 4. So other answers 4, 5, 2 with web chat being latest, 3 email, voice, live chat. Chris says 4. Sanjaya says 4. Rajan has 1, which is just voice. Tim says email, chat, phone, and remote support. Sergio, voice, email, and Facebook. Ashok has got 4. Paul says the latest channel they had is social media. So quite a range of channels there. So keep that coming in. That's on callcenterhelper.com/chat. And I'd like to just ask a poll question. This is through the polling system on your computer and through the main application. Do you personally use Skype? So the answers are yes for voice calls, yes for video calls, I'm planning to, or no, I don't. So if you could just vote on that. Do you currently use Skype? Be interesting to also highlight, perhaps put into the chat room if you're using Skype for business or for personal usage. So Simon, do you think there'll be a very big take-up for Skype from the audience?
Oh, I'd imagine so. Yeah, I think we've. I'm always proven wrong on these things, but yeah, I'd imagine. I don't know. Take a guess. About 45%, probably.
Oh, could be. I almost think you was over my shoulder then. So let's have a look. See what comes out. Some quite interesting findings. First time I've asked this question. So here's the results. 45% for voice calls. That's a bit spooky, and 48% for video calls. 9% are planning to. 24% of the audience don't. We've got a sample size of 144 here. So Guillaume, a bit of a surprise for me that video is probably outstripping voice calls as a use for Skype. I think you may be muted, Guillaume.
Sorry, I'm muted. So your question, of course, does not make a distinction between personal video for personal and private use makes completely sense because of the nature of the direct relationship between people within a group of friends or on family. On what we will certainly discuss later on in our webinar is how video may make sense also for business use, on how Skype can disrupt the customer service arena with a new approach on video calling. But no, I'm not surprised with these numbers.
And some comments back from the chat room that says it seems to be mainly personal with a little bit of business thrown in. A good comment here from Paul, who says, you know, we have family abroad in New Zealand, so Skype video is a great way of keeping in touch. So I think that's quite interesting. We'll be touching on video more as we go through. Right, we're now going to hand across to Simon Foote from Ember Services. And Simon's going to take us through a presentation about what's happening, the latest things that are happening in multi-channel customer contact. So Simon, if you'd just like to introduce yourself to the audience and share your presentation, would be great.
Yeah, we'll do. Hi everybody. So let me just get my slides, all that time to prepare. And so I'm Simon Foote. I'm Director of Consulting for Ember Services. And I'm just going to speak for 15 minutes today on some of the trends and emerging patterns we're seeing around multimedia. Ember is sort of a specialist in customer management, so we're all either practitioners or have held senior level roles within practitioners. So I think our distinction is that we kind of really get the pain that our clients are going through in terms of their operations, as opposed to being career consultants. So we really do understand the nature of the business. So with that in mind, let's dive straight in. Kind of classic consulting trick, really, but sort of wanted to show you this slide, which I think is really interesting and kind of almost scares us into thinking, blimey, this is quite significant. But this is a slide from Go Globe, who have articulated, I think, quite neatly what activity actually happens in 60 seconds. So obviously in the top right-hand corner of the dial, you've got 370,000 voice minutes being used in the next 60 seconds on Skype. We can see over nearly 700,000 Google searches, 168 million emails being sent still, the number of people signing up to Twitter and LinkedIn and everything else. So some really significant activity happening out there in just the 60 seconds. And by my reckoning, by the end of this webinar, that'll be 22 million Skype minutes having been consumed globally from the 300 million plus users. So interesting kind of precursor to some of the stuff we're going to be talking through today. So fundamentally, we believe that there are 4 key behaviours that you're trying to influence your customers on, and those are you want them to buy or consume more of your services. You want people to tell people about it, hopefully a good experience. You want them to be buying or consuming your services for longer, and hopefully more of them over a longer period of time, that lifetime value and loyalty point. And you want them to be less demanding when they do use or consume your services. So you want them to be self-serving, you want them to be largely self-reliant, but you do want to hear from them as well when at certain points in that journey. So fundamentally, when we're considering customer management strategies for our clients and potential clients, we look at it from one of those 4 standpoints, and I think that kind of resonates. So with that in mind, that's the kind of industry we're in, that's the kind of customer influencing behaviour that we're looking for. But I think the reality is, and I think we all are beginning to accept it, that our customers' behaviour is changing. Traditionally, they've been, I suppose, akin to sheep. We've imposed queues on them. We've held them in queues, whether that be in an IVR or in holding in the contact centre. We've told them the way we want them to follow our processes. You will buy it this way. You will operate this way. If you don't like it, by all means, you can write a letter to tell us you don't like it, but that's the way it is. We don't really want much to do with them. We try to hide them away and kind of largely isolate them and ignore them. And we've sought to sell to them at every opportunity that we possibly can, even if it's not that type of contact. We still kind of feel the need to try and sell some additional products. But customers are kind of getting savvy to this now, and clearly are changing, and they're now taking control. So they're more akin to a wolf, right? They're working in communities. They're hunting in packs. They are seeking constant information and want it now, and they want it quickly. They want to regain control of the agenda. They seek transparency. They want to know it's not good enough anymore just to say, well, that's the way we do it. It needs to be, well, why do you do it this way? Let's look for different ways of doing it. And they need to understand the decisions we're making from both a commercial and a customer experience perspective. So that's quite a frightening prospect, and I'm sure we're all experiencing that kind of change in customer behaviour as we're customers, and our demands are changing, as are our customers as well. And this has an impact on us as organisations. I think in the past we've been more akin to the piranha. You know, we've been dominant, we've been top of the pecking order, we've been in control of the organisation and in control of our customers, and quite often we would seek the customers that we want to contact through our outbound dialing strategies and our proactive contact. As we've built our CRM systems, we've been on the front foot looking to reach out to our customers. But I think the reality is we've now become at the mercy of our customers. We don't really know when they're going to contact us and what they're going to contact us about. We're a bit nervous that they're going to ask questions that we can't answer, or seek information about us that we can't handle. Or actually, we're pretty scared that if we offer a bad service, you know, more and more people are going to hear about that very quickly through the social media channels today. So we've become rather nervous and rather paranoid about our customers and how they engage with us. So if they are changing, we have to regain control. But what are some of the drivers of that change? And clearly, multi-channel and the multitude of channels which you can now use to contact organisations is clearly having an impact here. And I think it's becoming quite clear that the channels that we use in our private lives, and the chat room has obviously talked about Skype, and the use of Skype for contacting a family overseas is a good indicator of how that then becomes a commoditised kind of way of working from a personal life perspective, and you can see that leap into business life happening quite quickly. So in our lives, we use a wide range of channels to keep in contact with people. We probably have bigger networks of contacts now than we've ever had before. My personal LinkedIn network is, you know, in excess of 500 people. However, it's quite interesting when we get some of the endorsements that we do from our LinkedIn communities, and half the people who endorse me, I'm sure they don't know whether I'm a taxidermist or a contact centre consultant. But either way, the endorsements are there for all to see. So our life is getting much more complex and much more connected. We stay in touch with friends and families and organisations across lots of different channels. And this is quite an interesting slide here in the top right-hand corner from Dr. Nicola Millard at BT. And I think the key thing I wanted to pull out here in view of where we are today, what we're talking about today, is the uplift in web chat. 37% of organisations are expecting to deploy, or customers are expecting to use web chat in communication with an organisation, which is clearly an appetite for some growth. Video conferencing is there at 5%, but I suspect that's slightly understated when you start thinking about the chat market. We ran a survey, bottom left-hand corner of this slide, we ran a survey at the back end of 2012, and I include this just to kind of see how quickly things move. And at that point in time, when we asked a number of senior executives within the top 100 companies in the UK, what was the channels that they envisaged using to contact an organisation themselves, you can see the results there. Now what's interesting is 25% of people back at the end of 2012 had an expectation that Skype would be a regular contact of choice for them, and they would be using it, which is quite interesting, because I just don't think that has actually emerged in reality. What is interesting is you'll note that there was no reference to Twitter or social media at the back end of 2012. And that's not because we admitted it from our survey, it just literally did not come up as being a channel which people envisaged using at that level. And clearly we know very differently now. Also, John T, I think I've used one of your call centre helper polls here. And
yeah, I remember that one well.
You do? Good. So, you know, the point of this one was to really make the point that despite all of this multitude of different channels, it still remains, voice still remains such a strong part of our contact mix. And actually, despite the kind of efforts we have to make that as predictable as we can, you know, of your survey results there, 78% of people had issue with high volumes of calls during 2013, and I'd imagine that is higher than expected volumes of calls. So voice kind of still continues to catch us out. So I think we've had this kind of emergence of obviously self-service and call deflection and moving between different channels, but as we've sort of always kind of maintained, voice still remains a critically important channel within a contact center. The length of those calls and the complexity of those calls continues to change, and you get longer calls of much greater complexity, and I think the reality is that's starting to show its face again now. So I wanted to just focus a little bit down on web chat. I think this has been the kind of most conceptually easiest additional channel for us to bring into our environments. Technically, it has had some challenges, but I think the vendors are starting to really differentiate their services now, and it's becoming a lot more easier to integrate chat into your online capability. Adoption rates in the UK have certainly been lower than in other markets, particularly in the US. But Contact Babel are sort of suggesting that the uplift expectation going forward is going to be 27% increase in the next 12 months, which I think is consistent in terms of what we're seeing and the sorts of conversations we're having with our clients. Many of our clients are considering it from a service perspective, and in fact I think it is most commonly used certainly in the UK market for service interactions. But the question always remains around productivity, and is it a cost saver, and how many concurrent chats can an agent actually handle? Where the more leading edge organisations who are adopting chat are focusing is around the sales opportunity, as always. And actually there's some very sophisticated business rules that are sitting behind some of the chat vendors solutions these days, which do enable you to kind of support increased basket size or conversion rates. I think it's interesting that all of the chat providers are actually actively pursuing or releasing video chat functionality into their product suite over the next 12 months. I think we'll see a real influx of video chat capability coming on stream. And I think that's largely in response to kind of shifting market demand. We are kind of used to Skype, we are used to FaceTime via Apple, so it's seen as being a kind of a natural progression and very much more familiar technology to us than it was before. And I think with the use of Amazon Mayday, which is gathering quite a lot of media attention at the moment, with a response rate of 15 seconds to speak with a video chat via your device, again, that kind of opens up that whole cross-sector market to the advent of video chat. So, but voice is still there, right? Voice is so last year. No, we don't think it is. I think there has been a lot of success in call migration and self-service, but it still figures heavily. I think the emergence of the purchase of Skype by Microsoft and the new release of the link capability, the upgrade in the link capability, really does kind of start to make Skype, and particularly the voice component of Skype, to be quite disruptive in terms of it being a new channel to the contact center. And Guillaume will talk some more about that after me in terms of what Genesis's position and product set is to make that kind of very accessible for organizations. But growth of voice traffic is kind of still set to continue into the box in the top left-hand corner there. 50% uplift in smartphone voice-based voice activity by 2018 is predicted by some analysts. I suspect within that smartphone number, you have actually got Skype or other video-based voice traffic over a smartphone. So it's clear that that's actually going to happen. And I think it's quite interesting when you start to think where some of the industries start to embrace, let's say, Skype as a product. So that and I know Guillaume has an example of the US healthcare market, but certainly healthcare and legal services seem to have been a sector which have really embraced Skype and video chat as a channel. So this Staffordshire Hospital wants to be the first hospital in Europe to use Skype for consultations. So that's an interesting sort of provides an interesting kind of dynamic. Bottom left here, an Australian bank have actually, within their Contact Us section, promoting Skype as a slightly more advanced click-to-call capability, but that's available now. I have actually clicked through and run that, so I'm sure they'll get a few more contacts following this webinar, but it is just interesting to see how that kind of then connected with my Skype window and the ease at which that kind of cross kind of application then just occurred was really interesting to me.
Was there a very long queue time to get through, or you straight in, and did they have the equivalent of an IVR?
Yeah, no. I went straight into an agent. But it was great, and I knew I was in the queue, so I thought that was it was a great experience actually. So it made it very accessible and slightly worryingly accessible. Skype's extras within the Skype application, and they've released a lie detector which picks up on emotion in the call or stress within the call, and I think that's interesting actually, especially when you consider the investments that organisations are making in speech analytics. So clearly there will be, I assume, a lot of the traditional contact centre technologies such as call recording, quality monitoring, analytics, actually needing to kind of also take on board some of the Skype-based contact as well through various connectors and making within the Genesis portfolio has the capability to incorporate those types of contact center applications that we've become used to. But interesting that there's quite a lot of extra kind of capability within Skype that perhaps we don't all know about. So just conscious of time, I'll just sort of canter through these slides here. So in experience of our clients, we've worked with a number of clients on the issue of kind of integrating Skype into their contact suite. And the ones I'm referring to here, particularly around a major retailer and a high street bank. But it's amazing how often the first thing we talk about in the contact center world when it comes to kind of video conferencing or video chat is, what are people going to wear? Do I really want, would you really want me? You can't see me, but really, would you want me actually taking calls in your contact center? I have a great face for radio. So that kind of thorny issue of the people and representing your brand kind of is still there, and is something we do need to think about. Many of our clients actually struggle with getting the environment right, actually, both from a customer perspective in terms of making sure there's, the customer's got sufficient bandwidth and they can actually use the service, but actually from their own environment as well. So, the distraction of having people walking behind you. I mean, I'm sure we've seen BBC News from Broadcasting House, and people walking behind them as, Fiona Bruce is presenting can be quite distracting. So getting the light and getting the situation and the scenario right and the right environment is clearly quite, it seems quite menial actually, but I think it is quite important in terms of generating the right customer experience and the right kind of perceptions of your brand. Security, this is one to watch. This is, does the advent of Skype and other video-based capabilities really open up kind of additional threats from hacking or phishing, etc. And one to watch on this one, I think, but I'm sure it'll be resolved. I think one of the benefits in my personal life of using Skype, in fact I use it in my business life to stay in contact with my colleagues, is that I can see when they're online. So the traditional kind of pop up in the bottom right hand corner to say X person is online, and I quite like the idea of being able to know when some of the companies I want to interact with are actually online as well. So that might be a good thing from a customer perspective, but it could be a nightmare from a business perspective if everybody knows when there's availability. Which could be helpful because you can predict your demand and when you're online, and I will then be inclined to call when I know you're available rather than waiting and queuing. But whilst it's an opportunity, it's also a threat as well, because I think it means that people will potentially contact you at different times to what you're used to. And Skype as a channel, the ability to be able to look at that channel and within one window I can chat, I can video chat, or I can IM. Or take a voice call. So essentially I've got 3 potential channels to contact the company within one easy click of a window. I think just kind of further resonates how easy it is for customers to make contact with you. We will need to integrate these we'll need to integrate Skype into our existing infrastructure. So the things to think about is your ability to integrate Skype into your forecasting and scheduling. How you're going to route calls, the switch sort of process that we're used to, but how you're going to route calls and skills-based route to people. And we know how sensitive contact centres are when it comes to kind of right people in the right place at the right time. The ability to drive compliance and quality monitoring and performance improvement through something such as Skype. So I think we'll see an emergence of vendors talking about that ability to interact or interconnect with existing contact centre suites, including the analytics. And clearly, new ways to pay. Consumers are going to expect free calls. That's the reality of Skype. We're used to using it for free. We may have some money, in accounts on Skype, but more often than not, we're expecting it to be a free service. Breaks down regional boundaries. That's an interesting one. So suddenly where it's very hard to phone an 0845 or an 0800 number when you're outside the UK, actually using a Skype based number means that those country by country boundaries are kind of now blurred or removed altogether. So that does open your contact base up to a lot more. Your contact from your customer base grows significantly. So I think the upshot here is it kind of feels like with Skype and Microsoft coming together, and I think the emergence of this as a viable product, it's kind of just got easier to contact you. It's got easier to call you, in fact. So what does all this mean? It kind of clearly has an impact on the way we service and engage with our customers, the way we can sell, the opportunities to sell, the way we manage and engage our staff is a new skill set again. There are question marks over security and regulatory compliance and where that's going to go in terms of recording interactions. Clearly the way we communicate and the words and phrases and tones we use to represent our brand need to change. Cost, the traditional way which we allocate cost for price per minute, etc. in our contact centres is going to change as it comes to Skype, and it clearly affects some of the thinking we've got currently around where we're going to invest our time and effort in our contact strategies going forward. So, I think it is an emergence. As you said at the start, John T, it's leading edge, but I think it's leading edge that has the opportunity to gather momentum quite quickly because of the nature of the application and the way it's already commoditized in our personal lives. So in terms of kind of grappling this, where we work with our customers is helping them understand what the opportunity is for them. Realistically, are their customers going to be of the right demographic or desire to want to use Skype to contact them? Let's understand what the opportunity is. Then you kind of need to build that strategy that says, okay, we do need to incorporate this. How do we do that within our business? What is the business case? What's the benefit? What do we want to be as an organization, and how is Skype going to actually help us communicate or enhance that experience for our customers? We help customers execute on their contact center strategies, and then importantly promoting those services. It's all well and good having a social media profile, but actually unless people follow you, they don't get the benefit from using it. So that multi-channel kind of communication is right at the heart of what we help our customers with. So that's me, John T. I hope that was sort of useful just to kind of set the scene as to what we think is going on within the industries. A list of some of the clients we've been working with recently, many of which are on the calls today across all the sectors. So you can see the sort of challenges that are out there.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for that, Simon. I think your comment there about with Skype, it just got easier to call you, and potentially, even a sort of reminder if you're logged into Skype to, it's very straightforward to people to call. I think could drive up potentially traffic drop volumes even more so. So we're going to jump to a poll now, and the poll we're going to ask is, where would you most likely use Skype in the contact center? Just going to put the poll up on the screen, and then after that we're going to take your questions and go through some top tips as well. So here's the question: where would you most likely use Skype in the contact center? Would you use it as a general voice line? Would you use the video functions, for instance, for sales, for a video show and tell? Would you use it for specialist business processes, general customer service, or competitive advantage? You can vote for more than one of these, so if you want to select all that apply to you, would be quite interesting to do. So I'd just like to vote on which of the options there you think are going to be most appropriate. So we've got most of you voted. I'll just wait for a couple more to come in. There we go. And I'll show the customer service. This is by far the 38%, 34% for selling or a video show and sell, 35% for a specialist business process, and lowest on the list is competitive advantage. So, Guillaume, does that? Are there any surprises for you there in the way that people are thinking of Skype in the contact center?
No, not really, because as we are going to see in a few moments with my presentation, Skype is another channel of the customer experience, but it has no per se exclusive use case. It has to fit in the big picture. It has to make sure that it works in harmony with all the other channels offered, on that the customer experience is consistent. So for sure, the use of it for general customer service makes sense. However, what is special to Skype is for sure video. In the past, I would say decade, we have seen so many attempts to create a channel, a video channel between the world of consumers and the world of the enterprise. On many of them have failed, or have stayed very confidential. Skype is probably the first time where we might see a real uptake in the use of video for customer service. So maybe if you do again that poll in a couple of years from now, when the use of Skype for video contact center would have been a bit more established, maybe some more use cases would come up.
Okay, well, we're going to jump now to some tips. The first tip comes from Alexander, who says, use Skype for reception, general inquiries, sales chats. I find that since we can't integrate Skype within our contact center platform, it's best to drive towards one of our integrated channels after connecting via Skype. A great way to start the conversation, but to wrap it up, go into more detail on the platform. So I guess that's Simon, sort of a technology limitation, as I guess Skype is only available on a few integrated platforms currently.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the point, and exactly where I think Genesys have got some kind of offering here, which kind of makes it easier. So, but yeah, I think that's probably been one of the challenges so far.
Okay, we've got a question. It's a starter for 10 almost. Is the video calling a real requirement in today's contact centers, or is it the case we have a more tech-savvy consumer wanting to use the toys on their smart devices? Guillaume, any thoughts on that?
So it's a very legitimate question. From my perspective as a software vendor, it's not, I would say, it's not a general purpose market. It's a market where we see lots of vertical use cases depending on the industry. So I have a long list of small size contact center customers for using video for different very specific use cases. For example, healthcare, for example, deaf on impaired people support, or VIP customer support, e-services on the internet for some very specialized selling. So it's not, I would say, I don't have a killer app for video. It's just an addition of a numerous number of use cases. And I forgot to mention also kiosks in the branches, or in the retail industry, in airline companies, stuff like that. But it's not a huge market in volume, but it's an addition of very interesting on high-value business use cases.
Indeed, certainly. What I'm seeing is a lot of retailers are starting to use video on their sales functions. Chris has said we have clients that are wanting their sales reps visiting healthcare providers to be able to hand over their tablet and connect with our call center for an immediate face-to-face contact. Our concern is getting the same people taking calls also available for video conference in an automated, distributed environment. Simon, any thoughts on how you might be able to handle that?
Yeah, I'm just reading that question again, actually. So I think that's I think it's interesting that the sales rep can't handle that contact, actually. But apart from that, I mean, I think that's the challenge. I think having the availability of the environment and having people with the right skills to be able to handle that type of contact, it does need some thinking through and some additional planning. It's a headache for the planners, isn't it? But I also think from a yes, from a technology perspective, I think it's clearly a challenge. I'd like to kind of comment on the previous one as well about tech savvy. I think you're right. I think people are becoming more tech savvy, and I think there are more opportunities on the devices. But I think the reality is that's here to stay. Our customers are more tech savvy, and we have to kind of accept that and expect to be handling them differently.
And also a tip from Ian here says Skype allows video calling from mobiles and cell phones, which gives a better experience for customers who are mobile and in the field, which I think is a very
yeah, absolutely, yeah, especially definitely mobile web as well. I mean, it's constant thirst and demand across all devices, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. Well, we're now going to go across to Guillaume Callot in Genesis, and Guillaume's going to take us through some of the technology developments that are happening in terms of integrating Skype into the contact center. So, Guillaume, if you'd just like to put your slides up on the screen, and if you'd like to introduce yourself to the audience, would be great.
Thank you. So, my presentation will be more talking about, I would say, the solution side on the technology capabilities offered or soon to be offered around Skype on the contact center. So my name is Guillaume Callot. I'm French, as you can hear. I'm working for the Genesis EMEA sales organization, and I'm running business development activities, especially in this area of new unified communication technology like SIP, like Link, on some other interesting use cases. So my presentation today, to start my presentation, I will do a quick positioning of the famous concept of customer experience, on try to show you the complexity of it, on where Skype fits into it. So when we talk about customer experience, basically it's the element that sits between the customer journeys, whatever they are, in the acquisition phase, in the servicing phase, in the growing phase, or on the internal customer-facing processes that sit in the enterprise, relying on many internal systems. So customer experience basically tries to fit together, to integrate together these touch points that include many moments of truth, many touch points between the customer and the enterprise through a variety of channels on devices to these internal processes. On this mapping exercise is of course not simple at all. And it involves different kind of touch points, self-service touch points like classical voice IVR, digital channels, websites, mobile apps, also the marketing as such, which can be seen as a touch point on its own, and also the human-assisted touch points like the contact centers, the direct contact with a specific account executive or specialist, back office, branch and stores. To handle all these touch points, we have a number of channels. We have the traditional voice channels, we have text, real-time, non-real-time, different kind of web forms. On Skype, from the perspective of Genesis, is in fact just another channel that has to fit in the global picture of customer experience, and must not break at all the way the business is operated in terms of customer journeys or internal business processes. So that said, I will now jump more in depth on the specificities of the Skype channels, and try to understand which touch points are I would say have a relationship with Skype as a channel, on which processes can take advantage of that channel. So a few words on Skype. So Skype, as you know, has a quite long history in the world of internet, and they have been through multiple phases on acquisitions, and more lately they have been acquired by Microsoft. And for us in the customer service space, it has a strong consequence, because before Skype being acquired by Microsoft, the capabilities or even the strategy of Skype to integrate into the world of enterprise was quite limited. They have created some offers for small business. They have created some technical connectivity between Skype and the enterprise, but definitively it was not their core business, and they have stayed focused on the consumer-to-consumer business model on more social network kind of world. Now that Link on Skype are coming together within a unified portfolio of Microsoft, things are changing, and they are radically changing because now Link is becoming the kind of universal front end of Skype to interact with the enterprise. So in the next slides of my presentation, I'm going to articulate and develop the capabilities of this solution a little bit altogether, even though, of course, Skype has also life on its own. So let's have a look quickly at the consequences of Skype on Link for customer channels. So the very first channel that you have to consider, of course, on the first device is the personal computer with all its multimedia capabilities for presence, for instant messaging, for voice, video, on also collaboration. This is the starting point of most of the Skype users. Nevertheless, in the past years, Skype has added new capabilities on many more devices, and for us in the customer service, it creates also new use cases. So the second use cases I quickly wanted to illustrate here is the possibility to use Skype clients directly on the TV or a gaming product like an Xbox that allows directly to interact from your sofa at home using a remote control onto established Skype call, including video, of course, that clearly can have a direct consequence in the customer service space. The third case is the mobile, of course. People use Skype on mobile, on Wi-Fi, or other kind of data technology, of course, to save money instead of paying expensive roaming fees. But they also use it for its multimedia capabilities, like we can have with Face Chat, for example. But here on tablets, on mobile, it resonates very well. The fourth use case that we see also in some industries is the so-called kiosks. So specific devices, equipment, could be a point of presence in an airport, it could be in a shop, it could be in a bank, even integrated with an ATM, are some video terminals that could take advantage absolutely of Skype on Link client. In addition to that, I wanted to mention two other use cases that are a bit more specific to Microsoft Link, but that also complement what we just saw here. The next use case is the possibility to use Microsoft Link for web communication. So it can start with web conferencing capabilities, but what it brings to the consumer and to the enterprise is the possibility to have a rich media interaction, to share documents, to have, of course, a video call, to do a whiteboarding session, and to include many participants, either from the enterprise or from outside of the enterprise. And to integrate this kind of piece in a customer service chain for high-value, high-touch customer service, like, for example, I don't know, negotiating a contract in a bank, can absolutely make sense. Another use case that we have started to see emerge is B2B, business to business. So it's a capability that Microsoft calls Link Federation. It's the possibility to peer together directly Link platforms, and in the customer service environment it could resonate very well we have a customer, in fact a Genesis partner, who is reselling a link to its customer on. They asked us to build a help desk where they can directly serve their customers who are using Link on connected to their own platform to answer to their question and to service them. So business to business is also potentially a use case around these two technologies. So in the next slide, what I've tried to do is to summarize the main features and capabilities of Skype in the enterprise as well as Link, and to check which of them are the most relevant for us for customer service. So I've put side by side here the main features of Skype, the main features of Link in the enterprise, and see how the integration of the two with a customer service software could allow to do a good customer experience. So the first capability that many people have been looking for is the simple click to dial. So on the major benefit enterprises have been considering is basically to build a low cost or even free 0800 service that would allow to connect to a PBX, to connect to directly over the internet, to connect to Microsoft Link. This is possible today. There are different ways to implement that, but usually it's just a starting point. Once you have this click to call, of course, voice can be established with the enterprise, and you can have IVR service, inbound calls, or even outbound calls between somebody on Skype and somebody in the enterprise. That's also something possible today. Directory and presence. So this is an interesting integration point. When you have an enterprise who is willing to use to integrate with the Skype network, the first thing it will do is that it will create a buddy. It will name itself on the internet, and it will be able to push some information about its presence on the internet, so as a social entity. But you can also look at it from the consumer side. When you are a customer, you have your Link buddy. Basically, you are de facto identified. I would not say authenticated as such, but identified, and it can help to serve you better. And even based on presence, you can be called back. So all the outbound callback scenario based on Skype presence can emerge at that point. It's a more sophisticated use case, but as well it's a very, very interesting one in lots of situations. Another use case is chat. So when I mean chat, it's instant messaging that can be enhanced with video, that can be enhanced with voice. Today, chat is possible, voice is possible. Video integration between the enterprise on Skype is not completely ready. It's in beta phase. Microsoft is already showing it. I will give an example in a few minutes. But it's planned to be released officially, generally available on the market a bit later this year. So you have to stay tuned on the announcement of Microsoft. In a few months, probably Microsoft will officially announce the availability of video integration between Skype on Microsoft Link in the enterprise. There are a few other capabilities. I mentioned the collaboration capability over the web of Microsoft Link that are available today. And video, as I said, will come a bit later this year for customer service. One last capability I wanted to mention, and I have a specific screenshot on that. It's a new feature that Microsoft will release later this year called G-Link. It's a code name for the moment, and it's a set of Java extensions for Microsoft Link that would allow any business to inject in their website IM, voice, video collaboration feature directly in a web page. So
now we're losing a bit time here, but it's racing up on it. Guillaume, I think you have a demonstration that would be quite useful to jump jump straight through to,
Okay.
I think which demonstrates the concepts very well.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's use the. So I've created some videos to show you some example of Skype on link integration in the contact center. So in my video here, just a couple of 2 minutes video, you can see two things. You can see here on the right an agent desktop, so based on some Genesis software, where an agent is able to manage multiple channels, voice, IM, email, social, so on and so forth, who is integrated with a link client. So that's the client that will be used to propagate, I would say, the channels to between the consumer on the agent. So the agent is making can manage its presence, that is synchronized with Microsoft Link. In my example here, we are going to establish an instant messaging session between somebody on the internet on the agent. So here on the left, you can see a classical Skype client. On this Skype client here accesses to a specific, let's say, corporate body that identifies here a loan officer, a loan service from a bank, for example. So the instant messaging is starting on the Skype side. On the agent side, the interaction will be routed. So first, you can see here an automated chat response, so a kind of bot where you can ask questions to the customer to identify himself, to confirm his identity, and to ask a question. And based on the analysis of the answers, the instant messaging will be routed to the agent directly in his business application with the customer profile information, customer data. You can have access to all the capability like automated response at that point. So it's a classical instant messaging integration between Skype on the contact center. Let's look quickly at another scenario here where we are going to blend different kind of channels. So here I have my same customer and agent, but I'm going to use a real-time communication. So here I'm establishing a voice call from Skype. I'm able also using DTMF if it's needed to authenticate myself, and the voice call is delivered to the contact center agent. What's interesting to note here in this example is that at that point we are able to use some more capabilities of Microsoft Link, which is the possibility to access to other people in the enterprise based on presence, based on skills, and to run capabilities like consultation calls, conferencing, transfers to the back office, etc. That's what we call contact center virtualization. So here you've seen instant messaging, you have seen voice, and as soon as Microsoft releases the video capabilities, of course, it's something we are going to integrate further and authorize more sophisticated use cases. So to wrap up my presentations, of Microsoft, this G-Link, what Microsoft has demonstrated last month in their worldwide event, where you could see a healthcare example where a doctor was basically directly from an internet site the replay of that demonstration on this website, the linkconf.com. So Microsoft on Genesis, I've been working together for some time now. We have a qualified solution for Link 2010 and 13 that enables the feature I've briefly showed you now. We have, when you integrate the two together, in fact, you take advantage of all the power of the Genesis suite. So inbound voice, outbound voice, all the IVR, recordings, speech analytics, quality management feature around voice, but also all the non-voice channels that sometimes come on top of what Skype and Link have to offer, like email, social media, mobile, back office tasks, and CRM integration. So stay tuned, more to come this year, especially around video and collaboration, but it's something we see today more and more hot in our industry.
Go through to some questions and tips from the audience. So we're going to start off with a tip. Matthew's come up with what looks like quite an interesting workaround if your technology doesn't yet support Skype. Who said you could route Skype to a local number which points at the existing ACD and answer voice calls, I think. So I think that could be quite an interesting one to check out. I don't know if there's any technology people in the audience who could validate if that works. And Bart has said during... So you can actually do that. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a customer in France, an insurance company, Groupama, who has done that. It was, well, 6 years ago as a starting point, let's say.
Yeah, so certainly not integrated, but that might be a quick workaround. Bart has said during a Skype custom service call, use the video part to make the queuing more pleasant. Loop some simple tips or an advertisement. Also, during the agent conversation, this could be used. In this way, also non-video enabled agents can be used for answering video call without just providing a black video window or static picture. I certainly think that's...
yeah, that's really cool, actually. I saw that come through. I thought that's a really good idea. I mean, it works with IVRs. We do it now, right? Information messages on IVR, so that just takes it to a new level. I think it's good.
Yeah. I think just, you know, if there's something on the screen while you're looking, that could be quite good. Jacob said real requirements are driven by the consumers themselves, adapting to what the consumer needs, whether they know it right now or not, is the true key in driving market direction and business requirements for success. I think that was a response to the comment about how much is it taken off. Siva Kumar said web chat was predicted to gain popularity ever since 2008. Why is the adoption still so low? When it comes to prediction versus reality, there's always a gap. Why would that be? I think it's a bit of an open philosophical question there. Simon, any quick thought on that one?
Yeah, I think we've struggled to work out how many people need to be in a call center enabled to be able to take web chat. I think we've struggled with the skill sets that are required to do it, and I think we've struggled to integrate it into our call routing, our skill-based routing, WFM capabilities. But I think the current generations of vendors' capabilities is starting to kind of resolve that challenge. So it's just down to operationally how we resource it, I think.
I think we're seeing a very large growth in that coming through. Dorota said, what's the difference between Skype and chat? We're thinking about having live chat in our company. Is Skype a better way? And Jacob has also said, can Skype be integrated within the current ACD? That's probably a good technical question, Guillaume, for you. Can you put Skype into your current ACD?
So I would say yes or no. Yes for basic voice. Yes, there are possibilities to do that. But as soon as you want to extend to richer channels, instant messaging, video collaboration, you will need to integrate with Link on put extra feature on top of Link like Genesis. So yes for voice, basic voice, but it will stop there.
Indeed. So I think it's very much. I mean, you said it's leading edge technology. I think we're right very much at the cutting edge. And the question I think is quite interesting. Any considerations been given to PCI compliance when using video chat? Simon, any thoughts on that?
I knew that was going to come in my direction. I wouldn't really want to comment on offering guidance on PCI compliance for any organisations. I think it's very much down to interpretation of the regulations and requirements of the organisations, really.
Guillaume, quick thought on that one?
No, honestly, I've not seen that much, I would say, deep analysis on the capacity of Skype to comply with PCI. So maybe we can investigate that offline.
And a final opinion from Ian, who said, using Skype in the mobile environment could mean that when connecting to emergency services in the future, you can show the disaster, i.e. show the ambulance service the injury on a person. That makes remote help easier as they can see the patient. A multimedia application response center. Sorry, Sam?
I like that, but I think, well, a less morbid example might be something like a water leak when contacting your water company, you know, being able to show a hole in the road or being able to show a leak in the road. But I think that's right. I think it's that sort of capability is certainly there.
And I think there's certainly quite a good capability to then use geo services to actually highlight where you are. For instance, if your car has broken down, if you start to use Skype in the future. So if in one or two words, if you could put what you like best about the webinar. Slides are available on Call Center Helper if you follow the link at the bottom. If you want to watch the replay, I know a lot of you like to share this with your teams, or there's quite a lot of reference material in here. You can go through that. It's going to be available later on this afternoon. There's a few more webinars coming up in the series. So just like to, that's all we've got time for. Just like to say thank you very much to our two speakers. Thank you to Simon Foote from Member Services. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonty.
And thank you to Guillaume Callot from Genesis. Thank you as well.
Thank you.
And thank you to all of our audience. And if you want to join us next week, we're going to be talking about performance management. Thanks very much, and goodbye, and I hope the rest of the day goes very well for you. Bye-bye.
The organizer